Hello, what's going on? Happy Friday. I'll give everybody a few minutes. Just because it's Friday doesn't mean I stop going live. I definitely have a lot of information for you guys, and I like to put it out every day of the week. Thank you for joining. Make sure you say hello so I can give you a shout out for jumping on. And please engage. That's what I do this for, so you guys can ask questions and anything I can help you with. I like to be sure to get those answers for you. Hey, Alex, thank you for joining. Justin. Tonight we are going to talk about questions you should ask your real estate agent. Hello. This is episode 37. I really appreciate you guys spending your time with me every evening. Hey, Mark, what's going on? So please hit the like button, hit the love button, share this out so you are not selfish with the information. You never know who is going to need it, which one of your friends may be looking for a realtor or just real estate information. Tonight I actually Googled, this is a good one, questions that you should ask when you're interviewing a real estate agent, questions you should ask, and the answers that you should get and why. I'll get to closing costs in a little bit. But first we're going to start with the questions you should ask. I always say interview 3 agents. I don't think you should interview one. It's not always about the answers that they give you. Also, it's about the chemistry. If you don't catch the feeling that you want from the agent that you're interviewing, maybe you don't want to work with them. I mean, they may have all the experience in the world. They may have sold 1 billion houses last year, but in my opinion, you should want to work with someone that you can talk to, that you can relate to, and somebody that you get along with really well. So that's the first thing that I say. Always interview 3 agents. Make sure you've got the right one for you. Hey, Jerry, thanks for joining. So the first one that they came up with, or they said, this is a house blog post. It says, what is your experience in education? I think that's a good one. I don't necessarily I wouldn't discount the newer agents because they're hungry and they want to sell houses. I do think education is important because if you're brand new to doing anything, like if you're a really young agent, you don't have the experience necessarily, but again, they do have the drive. So there's some more factors that would play into that. For me personally, I have 2 master's degrees and I've been doing real estate for a couple years. I'm not necessarily the most experienced agent. I still ask a lot of questions. But the point is, you have to qualify all of the things that you're asking. That's why you ask more than one question and you kind of get a feel for what they're going to do for you, how they're going to communicate with you, and how comfortable you are with them. The answer on this blog post said, though a new real estate agent can certainly be motivated and eager, a pro with years of experience will have the knowledge and skill to face unexpected challenges. Taking continuing education courses shows a commitment to keeping up with changes. Well, to that I say we really don't have a choice. We have to take continuing education classes. And not only that, I mean, you want to make sure your agent is up to date on the new trends and things like that. I mean, having a pro is definitely good because they know what's going on. You can ask them a question and they know it like that. So even if you decide that you want to work with a newer agent, see if they're partnering with a pro or someone that's been doing it for a long time. Hey, Carly, what's going on? Thank you for joining. Hey, Michael, Adriana, thank you guys for joining this evening. We are talking about questions that you should ask your real estate agent when you're interviewing. Is this your full-time job? Which I think is a good question, but I've heard a lot of negative things about if it's not your full-time job. And again, when I back doing it, I wouldn't say part-time because everything I do is full-time. When I first started off, I was doing it part-time, and I considered working 2 full-time jobs. I would go to work 9 hours a day, commute in traffic, and come home and work until midnight. So it just depends on how responsive your real estate agent is and how much they can handle. So that's another factor you need to weigh in. But at the same time, just because it's not their full-time job doesn't mean that you should discount that. They say having another job shouldn't necessarily cut a potential agent out of the running, but you need to be aware if this is a part-time gig before committing. Someone who also works somewhere else may be harder to reach and could miss out on opportunities to show your house. That is true. Again, you could ask them for their schedule. How flexible are they? How easily are you able to get in contact with them? I personally make it very easy for people to get in contact with me, especially my clients. I'm very responsive and I don't like to keep them waiting. So it just depends on the agent, because even some full-time agents are hard to get in contact with. It's just something that you need to be aware of and ask them what their schedule is. How do I get in contact with you? How quickly do you respond to my voicemails or text messages if they text? The third question, which I find is a little funny, is are you a member of the National Association of Realtors? I think it's pretty standard here that you are. I mean, membership in a professional organization is what allows a real estate agent to use the title realtor. Being a realtor means that that person has agreed to follow the organization's ethical guidelines and keep up with continuing education. I've mentioned that before. We don't have a choice. I am a member of the National Association of Realtors. We have to take continuing education credits every 2 years so we can keep up with our license. So it's just definitely something that you need to do. Again, different states have different qualifications. Hey, Cameron, what's going on? Thank you for jumping on here tonight. Number 4 is, what's the price range of most of the homes you have sold? It says you probably already have a ballpark figure in mind for your home's price, but does the agent typically represent homes in that price range? That's a good question, because different homes have different, I would say, common features. And just like different homes in different neighborhoods, if you're very familiar with a home in a certain neighborhood, almost off the top of your head, you can give a really good price range if you know that area. I like to stick in neighborhoods that I know, because then it's really easy for me to say, oh, you know, this and that. I can really talk about something when I'm very, very informed about it. So when I go out and do my flyers, I do it in the same neighborhoods. I'm actually getting to know neighbors in those areas. Jerry said, ask your realtor whether they will be speaking with you directly or dealing with someone else. That's another good one. Definitely want to know. And that goes with having a team, because a lot of people will have a person to do certain tasks. And some people like just to deal with the person that they've hired. But it just depends on what setup they have. So if they have a team of people, you might be dealing with someone to do certain things, or you might have to go through them, and you'll never actually talk to the agent until you get closer to going under contract. Hey Frankie, what's going on? But again, asking them what the price range of most of the homes they sold, I don't think that's it's not a complete, question as far as cutting someone off if they don't typically deal with homes in that range. But there's a big difference when you get to like $1 million home versus like a $250,000 home here, because there's a lot of, for example, especially in the area, up in the Fairfax area, which is about 40 minutes from where I'm at, the main focus up there is on schools. And I had a listing up there a couple years ago, and a lot of the people, they were right on the line of another place called Vienna, and they didn't want to be in Fairfax. They wanted to be in Vienna, but they were looking at homes in the Fairfax area, I guess, to see if they could get a deal, and it was so close that was ideal, but that home was a unique home, and it was very hard to get sold. I know, I've paid attention to it. It's had 5 realtors since I listed the house. So that particular incident was a very unique home. It was I think 7,000 square foot home with 7 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms. It was huge and it was beautiful. But again, when you hit those large gaps in price range, that it does make a difference, because you have to know how long those homes sit. What's going on? Thank you for joining this evening. Another good question is, how many homes did you sell last year? That'll give you a good idea of how much the agent is doing. But in terms of, this is a good reason, they said, the number alone is not enough to base your decision on, but keep in mind a very high number means the agent may not be available to give you the personal attention that you're looking for. And that is exactly my point of what I was saying, that if you're working with a team, then you're going to have less individual attention, and your agent may not be as responsive. So it's just something to consider. It's that alone, they may have a very high volume, and sometimes they're very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's quantity versus quality. So you may get more individualized attention from someone that's not doing as much volume-wise. And this is a good question. Which neighborhoods do you primarily work in? Like I mentioned before, if you really know a neighborhood really well, then you're able to pinpoint exactly how to get that home sold, especially if you sold homes in that neighborhood. What's going on, Valentine? Thank you for joining. Like I said, I typically stay in the neighborhoods that I have sold in before. I like to, what I call, farm those areas. I'm starting to get to know the neighbors because they see me walking around. I do door knocking for open houses, and I start to get a good feel of what's going on, and they actually start talking to me and see what I'm doing in their neighborhood, and it really gets fun. I haven't had too many mean people, but there are some mean people out there. Thank you, Jason. Yes, you did. We actually have a lot of people on tonight. But I've had one person, she told me she wasn't interested before she even knew what I was knocking on the door for, and I think it's funny. I said, I wanted to say to her, but I have $1 million for you and you're not interested. So sorry. But it's funny. Door knocking is fun. I find it pretty interesting, and a lot of people have given me compliments for taking the time out and being so driven to come out and knock on the door, and they'll talk to me for a little bit. But that's another fun thing. That's getting to know the neighborhood and really knowing people. Walking the neighborhood when you are out there helps you become very familiar, and knowing what's going on the market. A lot of times they'll tell you what's going on the market and how they came across their realtor. You had someone say you're a different religion. Wow. Let's see. This one says, on average, how close to asking price is the final sale price of homes you sold? So basically they're asking you, how close to the listing price are you getting? Hey, what's up, Aaron? That's a good question, because if you're pricing too high and then you're dropping the price, you're going to get, the percentage is going to be a lot lower, and you definitely want to price it right. I always encourage my sellers to price it right. Don't try to price it high, because the period from 2 to 5 weeks is very important when you're trying to sell your house. So you want to make sure that you price it right, even if you have some time and you're just trying to get a lot more. Consider your options and consider your sales tactics or your marketing techniques, because when the house starts to sit longer, you're ultimately going to lose money on it anyway. So pricing it right where it's going to sell is the best way to go. And I always say, if we're going to price it higher than we want to price it, at least let's go ahead and do a pricing reduction sheet, so that way we're ready to go when the time comes. After 2 weeks or 10 showings, let's go ahead and reduce the price, because you don't want it to sit and then you're going to get a lowball offer anyway. Aaron says, around here, 2.7 below list average net seller. It depends on, it's really, what I've seen is it's really hit or miss. Some houses sell really quick, and then some will sit a little bit longer, but there's just a lot of variables. There's neighborhoods, there's the condition of the property, and you don't have a cookie cutter answer for any of it. How will you market your home? This is a really good one. I always tell my clients that I am an active marketer, not a passive one. So I don't just put it on the market and wait for it to sell. I go out and I'm very aggressive with my marketing. Like I said, door knocking, doing the mega open house, calling people, sending out flyers, talking to different brokers, making sure that everybody is aware of the house, and just even calling different clients that I feel like this may suit your needs. Letting them know that I have a house that just came on the market, it may fit your needs, or talking to people that have visited another listing. For example, I was working with a couple that was looking at one house in particular, and when they went, they decided that house didn't fit their needs, but I had just done an open house on another one, and I said, now this one is for sale, and I know you were renting, but this one is just like the one you were looking at. but it's for sale. And they are actually, I've been working with them for a couple weeks, and they're actually considering buying that house now. So that's just the kind of thing I do. Like, I'll do videos for people who are out of town, and we have a lot of military that PCS is here, so that's helpful for them because they're not going to be able to see the property. It's definitely not going to be available when they get here. So I've worked with a lot that go sight unseen because they're military. Sometimes they're out of the country and they can't make it here. Aaron said, lately hear multiple bids on anything priced well, just want 6%. Oh, wow. Yeah, I feel like it's more of a seller's market right now. And again, I use the tactics, or I suggest sometimes that pricing it just a little bit on the low end, and maybe you'll get multiple offers and it's going to drive the price up. There's no guarantee, but there's that possibility if you're willing to just do a little bit lower than what you think, you may get that multiple offer situation, which is going to get you more money in the end. Number 10 is asking, this is the seller asking you, what are the negatives of my home? It says you're not looking for rainbows and unicorns response here. An agent that is a good fit should be able to name several potential drawbacks to selling your home, from repairs to location and beyond. And that's another good thing. Just walking around the home first when you come in, thanking my clients for letting me meet with them, and then walking around and kind of noticing what they need to do. Some things like maybe staging or things that they need to remove from the home. Keeping it light, keeping it uncluttered is definitely something that you want to do. You want to pay attention to all those things. Like I've mentioned before, being able to make it as unpersonal as possible, so that way the buyer can walk in and can see themselves living there. You don't want a bunch of your pictures in the home while you're trying to sell it, because it just makes it too personal and they can't see themselves living there. And this was the one we've mentioned 2 or 3 times. Do you work on your own or as part of a team? Either or could be more appealing to someone. I personally work on my own, but I do have agents that I partner with as backups just in case. But when you're working as part of a team, like, you'll deal with the listing agent maybe the first time that you meet with them, and then they'll send someone else in to take pictures and to do this and to do that. And then whenever you have a question, you may be calling someone else. So there's drawbacks and then there's positives to anything, and it just depends on what's going to work for you. So what are you looking for? This says, if the agent you are interviewing heads up a large office, it may be that he or she will not be the one doing business with you, or it says doing business with you, the entire team. If that's the case, you should know up front exactly how the agent will be involved. And you should be able to meet the other agents. And I agree with that too. If you're going to be working with other agents, you should be able to meet with them and get to know them as well, because once you get under contract, I always say we become best friends, because you get to know each other really well. You have to know everything. So when something comes up, I have to be able to call you and tell you frankly exactly what's going on, so we can put the fire out. I always called myself a firefighter as well. The next one says, how many clients are you currently representing? I don't really think that's a deal breaker, but again, you could be working with a lot of clients and you can't handle all those. If it's a high number, if the number is very high or very low, consider that a red flag. You're looking for someone who is with a thriving business, so still has time to devote to your home sale. That's a good point. Somebody that has a very high number could be definitely someone that's really busy and doesn't have the time to devote to you or even think about what's going on with your home. What type of support staff or resources do you have? This says this could include anything from technology, help for creating a beautiful website for your home, to an in-house real estate attorney. That's definitely a good one, because you definitely want to have someone that has the most up-to-date technology. I mean, I pride myself on finding out what the new technology is, getting good pictures, putting the video online, because I just read not too long ago that the tour on the websites are pretty important when buyers are looking. Considering 92% of buyers start online, you definitely want to have a good video online. And this is, to me, this is really an important one. How well, or how will you keep me informed about progress? I always tell my clients, I'm going to communicate with you as much as you want. As much as you want. I don't want to communicate with you too much, but at the same time, at least we're going to start off on a weekly basis, you getting information from me, how many showings, the feedback, you know, just as much information as you want. Because there's some sellers that just, they're good. They'll just let you do it. They trust you, and they're good to go. But there are some sellers that as soon as the buyer comes in, they want to know the feedback right away, and you got to get that information to them. So, you know, that goes along with setting the expectation up front, talking about it so both of you know exactly what to expect. So down the line, if you have to make a change, you know, then you feel like you know what's going on throughout the process. And the last one is, can I see your references? I personally go back to my clients that I've worked with, and I ask them if they would mind giving me a testimonial. And I have them put it on my Zillow profile. So it's out there for anybody to see. I also take that testimonial and then I put it on my website as well, because I want people that I'm working with in the future to see that I'm working, how well or how people felt about my customer service. And anytime that you deal with people, you want to have a good relationship. So it's definitely important, and references is a big one. So I think that really speaks to how well your relationship did when you were working with them and how comfortable that they felt with you. So thank you guys for joining me. I went way over tonight. My stomach is eating itself. I am starving. But I really appreciate you guys spending the evening with me, especially on a Friday night. And every night that you guys spend here with me on the home front. Thanks again for watching, and please share this out. So don't be selfish with the information. You never know who's going to need it. See you guys soon.